A lot of my videos on this channel cover video games that failed, and many of those games fall under the category of live service. It's a market that every publisher is desperate to break into, but it's also one that has proven to be incredibly risky. I have seen countless games in this genre come and go, all with pretty similar attributes and shortcomings. But every once in a while, a game is able to find its audience and rise above the pile of live service corpses below them. One such game is Marvel Rivals, released in late 2024 and still going strong today. As an active player of the game myself, I wanted to talk about the reasons why I think it worked out, and highlight some of the lessons other hopeful games can take from its success. I think it's easy to forget that the initial response to the announcement of Marvel Rivals was far from positive. The reveal trailers were not great, and even looking back now, I feel like they made the game seem really low budget. There was also a lot of skepticism about the developer NetEase, who were most well known at the time for their involvement with the microtransaction-riddled Diablo Immortal. A lot of people assumed it would just be another cash grab Overwatch clone that would come and go. I mention this because I already know many of you will say Marvel Rivals succeeded simply because it's based on an extremely popular IP. And while that certainly does help a great deal, it is not a guarantee of success. We've seen tons of games built on meaningful IP flop, including from Marvel itself. Oftentimes, the IP is enough to get people in the door, but if the quality isn't there, they will leave very quickly. However, Marvel Rivals had a closed beta in the summer of 2024, and the game was actually extremely well received. It was fun, and reminded many of the prime days of their other favorite hero shooters. What impressed me was how large the cast of playable characters already was, and what I loved even more was their synergies and the way they could play off each other. For me, this is the core gameplay element that every great hero shooter needs. The mind games of counter picks and good combos is what sets this genre apart from other shooters, and NetEase understood this. Not only are there tons of heroes that work well together, they also introduce team-ups, which will allow you to get a stat boost or even special abilities based on who your teammates are playing as. And with new team-ups being introduced each season, it helps keep the game and heroes constantly feeling fresh without having to totally reinvent their kits. After the beta, excitement was much higher, but there was still a fair bit of trepidation. We've been down this road so many times with games in this space, and we know that a lot can go wrong. But almost immediately, it became clear that Marvel Rivals was going to be different. Before release, it was confirmed that all heroes in the game would be unlocked and free from day one. And not only that, but all future heroes added would be free as well. This was huge. Not having to pay money for new characters was obviously great, but it was even better to hear that they would just be unlocked right away. So many games say things can be unlocked for free and then make the grind as mentally taxing and horrific as possible to try and force you to spend instead. To hear that Rivals would be avoiding this entirely was such a great sign. I'm a firm believer that any hero shooter or class-based multiplayer game needs to have this model. Like I said earlier, so much of the gameplay loop of a hero shooter relies on counter picks and swapping characters. By locking certain heroes behind a paywall or a ridiculous grind, you are hurting a player's ability to do that and making it harder to play the game to its fullest potential. But this decision to make all heroes free wasn't just great because of the gameplay implications. It was also so important for the public perception of Marvel Rivals. Suddenly, people didn't think it was just a cash grab, and you saw tons of comments about how they were willing to give the game a chance now. And I think this is a really important topic to discuss further. It was pretty risky to go down this path. Charging for new playable characters is probably one of the most reliable ways to get your players spending, especially in a game like this where people are going to want to play as their personal favorites. But what NetEase did here was something that many live service games don't have the guts for. NetEase trusted the game they had made. What I mean is, they trusted the fact that they had created something fun that people would want to play. And if you have a game that's fun to play, the money comes naturally. So instead of trying to optimize how they can get people spending like so many live service games do, they focused on first making an enjoyable game. Wow, what a wild concept. But seriously though, this is something that so many live service games just refuse to do. They would rather turn off large sections of their potential player base in the name of quicker profits. And in many ways, cashing in early is absolutely the safer bet because it gets people spending before they can really decide if they like the the game or not. But by holding off like Rivals did and actually showing an ounce of confidence in your product, you can make a great first impression and garner a larger overall player base who will likely end up spending money later. I'm not sure if the decision to make all heroes free was in response to some of the skepticism they received pre-launch, or if it was always their plan. But either way, it was an absolutely genius move to get the gaming community on their side. The best news is that this free hero pool decision was not just a facade to earn some trust. So far, NetEase has held firm on their pro-consumer monetization decisions. From day one, they have avoided many of the live service trappings that the genre is typically so reliant on. And I think this is absolutely the biggest reason for its success. Modern day live service games often feel like they are out to get you at every waking moment. Entire games are built around farming your engagement and money. This usually results in gameplay features that make the game unequivocally worse to play, but better at getting you to spend money. And while Marvel Rivals has tons of skins and microtransactions just like any other free-to-play multiplayer game, it's the way they went about it that really stood out to me. Let's take the Battle Pass for example. The entire concept of a Battle Pass is built on the fear of missing out. The hope is that you will buy the Battle Pass and then feel incentivized to play the game as much as possible, because if you don't, you might not finish it. And in that case, it feels like you wasted your money because you didn't actually get everything you paid for. In other words, battle passes exist to trap you and force you to keep playing this one game and nothing else. Marvel Rivals, however, has no expiration date on their battle pass. It doesn't matter if it takes you months to finish it, it will never go away. It's such an obvious pro-consumer move, and yet so few games actually go down this path. I think it's an interesting example of what certain developers or publishers value. On the one hand, selling a battle pass that expires serves as an easy tool to keep people playing your game longer. But at the same time, offering a battle pass with no expiration date is better value for the player, and may get some to spend money on it who otherwise wouldn't have. Speaking for myself here, there have been tons of instances where I won't buy battle passes in games that I don't play very often, or if I'm not sure that I will stick with them long term. But Marvel Rivals has gotten me with the Battle Pass every time, because I know even in a worst case scenario where I end up not playing the game for weeks, I'm still entitled to unlock the items I paid for at some point. So while NetEase may not be trapping me in their game for tens of hours every season, they are getting me to spend and helping my experience feel like less of a chore. Speaking of not feeling like a chore, I want to point to an in-game event that happened a few months ago that left a really strong, lasting impression on me. I'm referring to the Galacta's Cosmic Adventure event, which took place back in March. This event centered around a game board where completing challenges allowed you to roll the dice. Each spot you could land on corresponded with an unlockable item or currency. When I first saw this, I thought, oh god, here we go. I've played enough live service games to know where this is heading. I'm gonna complete a challenge, roll the dice, miss the item I actually wanted, and then have to complete several more challenges before I make my way back around and pray I land on it this time. But guess what? I didn't have to do that. Once you began clearing spaces on the board, it would skip over the ones you had already claimed. So by the end, when you only needed one or two more items, it would just jump you around to where you needed to go next, instead of forcing you to roll the perfect number. This might sound like the bare minimum, but I cannot stress to you how many games would have made this as excruciatingly difficult as possible. They would make it so you miss the best items and have to keep playing to get the good stuff. And they would probably just so happen to give you an option to buy it outright if you didn't want to deal with the annoyance. But instead, this event just asked you to complete enough challenges to roll around the board, and you would be guaranteed to get everything. Similar to the Battle Pass scenario, this seemingly anti-engagement practice actually helped keep me more engaged. I was motivated to complete the challenges because I knew I wasn't going to get screwed over. If you're watching this as someone who doesn't play live service games, everything I'm saying may sound like common sense, but you would be surprised by how many games in this genre purposefully choose not to do player-friendly things like this, and you would be even more surprised by how many people willingly accept it. I think it's worth saying that Marvel Rivals is not a perfect game. I've been glazing it pretty hard throughout this video, but there are many things about it that I don't like. A few of the heroes are terribly balanced, and some of the metas have been super unfun, but these are problems that most competitive multiplayer games will struggle with. I think the bigger issue that has hindered this game from being perfect for me is the matchmaking. The matchmaking in Marvel Rivals is highly questionable, so much so that many believe they are using EOMM, or Engagement Optimization optimized matchmaking. This is a system designed to keep you playing for as long as possible. They might do this by giving you an easily winnable game during a losing streak to ensure you don't quit playing out of frustration. The developers have recently stated that they absolutely do not use EOMM in competitive matchmaking, and I'm inclined to believe them. If they really are not using EOMM, then it's highly concerning that this many people started to believe it was happening in the first place. That is a sign your matchmaking is not properly balanced, and the reason for it seems fairly obvious. The rank system in Marvel Rivals is a bit broken in my opinion. Unlike most games that have placement matches, Rivals just starts everyone at the same lowest rank, Bronze 3. This doesn't allow for that necessary step of filtering people out into the rank they deserve to be in. This feels especially bad because ranks in Rivals are super inflated as well. Up until probably Platinum or even Diamond, you can easily climb with a sub 50% win rate. Obviously, they're trying to make it easy to rank up because it feels good and motivates you to keep playing. But this is making players get into ranks that they realistically shouldn't be in and causing games to feel so unbalanced that the community thinks you are actively rigging games. Seems not great to me. I also think rank resets happen far too often in Marvel Rivals. At the start of every season, your rank drops by 7 tiers. So if you are a GM, you'll be put in Plat. If you were gold, you'll be back in bronze. I'm simplifying it, but you get the idea. I think this is just absolutely the worst way to go about it, especially because Rivals is currently getting a new season every 2 months. So 6 times a year, your rank gets reset. Most games use a rank decay system where if you don't play for a while, you will slowly start to go down in rank. This has its own set of problems, but it's certainly preferable to 6 different rank resets throughout a year. I honestly can't think of any other game that has numbers even close to that. It is extremely demotivating for anyone who is short on time to play. For someone that might only get a few hours here or there, it will likely take you the entire 2 months to reach your desired rank. And just when you do, you get sent right back down. I have seen tons of people saying they are starting to quit the game because of these issues, and I do think this could be a big turning point for Marvel Rivals. Honestly, I don't even know what the answer is because they've made this very complicated for themselves. Every problem leads into another. The ranks reset far too often, but they need to reset often because they're so inflated that players are reaching ranks they don't belong in. But at the same time, ranking up needs to move somewhat quickly because there are no placement games, and you don't want players who deserve to be higher rank getting stuck. Whatever the solution is, they need to find it quickly before they lose any more players. This is a pivotal moment for Marvel Rivals, and as someone who really enjoys it, I truly hope they figure it out. Overall, Marvel Rivals is not a game without flaws, but I think many of the choices they have made so far are commendable, and my hope is that other live service contenders will start taking notes. Too many of them feel like they are fighting the player at every moment, algorithmically trying to take advantage of you and your wallet. They make monetization the first goal and the most important aspect instead of focusing on making a great game, and this is precisely why you've seen so many of them fail. Marvel Rivals built goodwill and gained a positive reputation with the gaming community simply by playing fair and trusting what they had would be enough to get the profits they needed. If more live service games had this mindset, maybe we could reach a point where this genre isn't such a negative non-starter for most players, and you would start to see more success in this space. Or I guess you could just keep dumping hundreds of millions of dollars trying to copy Fortnite. What do I know, right?